Hello everyone, this is Fans Politics Asia, and this is the Frontline Changes Report. And the shit show continue. It's full of shit. It's unbelievable. I mean, honestly, no, I can't even believe what we are gonna be representing to you soon. And there is a lot of crazy Frontline Changes report, and this is just 24 hours. A lot of changes, and it makes me wonder, when the shit hits the fan, is this the shit of a human, or is it an elephant? So anyway, or it could be the elephant. No, remember the elephant? So we're gonna there's frontline changes over at the Kursk front. Basically most of these are just small clarification of the front line at Kirinevo, Kruklenkoe, Martinovka, and then we jump all the way to Sinkivka. Surprise! There is huge developments over at Sinkivka in the Kupiansk front, Pentamernalivka, and over at Torex. We have frontline changes at Torex, and then we have Druzhba also seeing some changes, and the entire Pokrov front, there's some major, massive change. Novohorodivka, Marilinivka, Mikhailivka, Membrik, Kalivka, and then more surprising stuff coming, Paraskoviyevka, Voleda, which is another one big one, Mikhailsky, huge one, Palivka, extremely surprising one, F. Shevchenko. So we're going to go through all this frontline changes report. So it's going to be a one hell of a shit show. So bring your tissue and or toilet paper, and let's start. We're going to start off with Kirinevo. So over in the western flank of the Kursk front, or the Kursk front, the Russian forces has been geolocated in the surprise on the eastern bank of the river, and this actually invalidates the Ukrainian claim that they have taken half of Kirinevo, and clearly the Russians have never acknowledged or accepted that kind of claim. So this confirmed that the Russians actually have a pretty good forward position over at Kirinevo. Along the highway position, the Russian forces got hit by, I think, FPV drones. So this actually puts into question all the Ukrainian claims over along all the river, or even the road leading to Kirinevo, on all this forest region or the suburb. There's a high chance that the Russians actually have full control over Kirinevo, and maybe the Ukrainians only have this small little part of it on the northern side of the highway. So basically, this is the frontline change over at Kirinevo. The next frontline change is over at Krylenkoe, just nearby, over at the eastern flank. It's not very east also. I can't. Okay, central flank. So at this region here, there's a geolocation of a airstrike on Ukrainian forces in the forest. Given this airstrike, it's believable that the Ukrainians actually have full control of the entire forest region, which is where they try to hide their troops, perhaps, from the roads, and which is why I believe they have the control of this forest. The rest of this forest line along this gully is unknown, because Russians previously was known to be holding position at Krylenkoe. So let's continue to monitor the situation around here. The next frontline change is at Martinovka. So over at Martinovka, at the Suja sector, there is a FPV drone strike on Ukrainian vehicles running down the highway, and the destruction of the vehicles suggests, through FPV drone, suggests that there is no Russian troops in this forest, and by extension of it, there is unlikely to be Russian forces along all this area here. In fact, I should actually draw this in a different way. I should actually extend this to the water body. Yeah, most likely it's going to be like this. So the Ukrainian forces actually have control, at least, or there's no Russians in this region here. So which confirms, or rather, make the front line feels more sensible. Russians could be here, honestly. We can't be sure, but the other side of the river, the Rika Smedivnica, is a bit more unknown, of a unknown nature. So anyway, that's it from the frontline change over at Martinovka and the Kursk front, and that's it. Not much. This basically almost no frontline changes. These frontline changes are just very minute. Due to geolocations, we are able to refine the front line, and strategically speaking, there's nothing changed. So there is no frontline change. The Ukrainians are stuck in Kursk. So we go into Sinkivka. This is a massive, massive update. Sinkivka have been very firmly under Ukrainian control, and both sides have lost a lot of troops fighting for this region. And this is the first time we have seen Russian come this south at Sinkivka. And this means that Sinkivka might be abandoned by the Ukrainian forces, and this is coming in line with the rest of the trend across the rest of the Ukrainian front line. And this is giving me some kind of sense. If you look at the collapse over the Pokrovsk sector, you would know, and the Donetsk front, you probably will see what I mean. That I got a feeling that the Ukrainians have lost its will to fight. At least the regular forces that is fighting within the Ukraine, I think they are losing the will to fight. I think the Kursk offensive have demoralized them too much, and making them resent maybe too much to the point where they don't feel like they should be risking their life anymore. That's the feeling that I get. And we shall continue to see whether this the collapse of the front line turns into a rout or not. What I mean by a rout means that the Ukrainians are not even forming new defense lines, and they just keep retreating, and the Russians just keep chasing, and they start to conquer massive amount of grounds, and we are starting to look like that is the case. But let's wait and see, if that is the case. The next frontline change is over at Druzhba. We jump into the New York front. At the New York front at Druzhba, Russian forces geolocated in a new location in Druzhba, confirming even more advances within Druzhba, and looks like Druzhba is about to fall to the Russians, probably very, very, very soon. And over at Torex region, there is updates from the Ukrainian mapping confirming Russians continue to push through Torex, moving towards the center of the city, and this also includes part of the forest region. So the Russians continue to make advances within Torex. And clearly, like I said, this salient is impossible. I don't think there's any Ukrainian forces around here. The front line most likely is actually here. So anyway, and then the Russians are actually making a massive push in all directions. So the situation here looks like it's also collapsing very, very quickly. Whether the Ukrainians are actually putting up a fight at all remains to be seen at this moment. But the speed of it is slower than at Pokrov. So I think they are actually putting some kind of fight around here. Over at the southwestern part of New York, at Pentamelanivka, Russian forces have made more advances around here. They have captured all the tree lines east of the village or the town, and this gives them now a position to launch an assault into Pentamelanivka. This is very undefendable. I don't think the Ukrainians should be defending this village. But not defending it also means you still have to fight, the Russians in the different place. But at least fight in some place that you can survive better. This is not a good place to fight. And the fall of Pentamelanivka would mean the fall of Alexandropil, because there's no way you can reinforce Alexandropil, and it will cause a flanking movement that will cut them off. So if this village fall, Alexandropil will fall. So that is the important thing to note around here. We move into the Pokrov front. At the Pokrov front, there is this massive chunk of land. This is like 15 square kilometers. The another one, this is like another 10 square kilometers. There are 10, 11 square kilometers. Another almost 3-4 kilometers. So there is a lot of grounds lost to the Russians over the span of 24 hours. These are mostly based on Russian claims. So this is not corroborated by the Ukrainian side yet. The Ukrainians are, of course, hoping for the toilet to be nearby. So, but tentatively, this is a sign. It's like the stain, that has appeared, a bit colored. So, anyway, the frontline change. Generally speaking, over at the Horodivka region, the Russians seems to have taken Novotorexsk. They have taken half of Horodivka. They have seemingly taken most of Krasnaya, taken Krustaya, and they seem to have also captured the rest of Novohorodivka. So this massive frontline change, of course, changed the strategic nature and the posture in this area entirely. And the Russians also have secured control along the river in the Zeleny Torex, if I didn't see wrongly, along the river body. So this will give them a good defensive position, would then allow them to continue the attack to capture the rest of Horodivka, go around Mykolaiv and then go into the second boss, which is the Minograd or Minograd. Yeah, Minograd. So it's going to be the second boss soon. So two of the first boss, one already fallen. The next one is almost gone, and the speed of the advance means that the Ukrainians did not defend at all. They have abandoned position, and yeah, like I mentioned, this might be the beginning of a rout. But we have to see whether the Ukrainians actually defend at all, because they could do a major withdrawal to a next defense line, and that is a valid military decision. But if they just retreat and there's no fight, then there's a rout, or then that will be a big problem for the Ukrainians. So so this is the thing. Horodivka, the line seems to be going almost along the Duravka River. The this so I have to put into a different map so they can see clearer. So there is a river around here, and it plays along the river here is actually gray zone. That means it's like the Russians did not claim that they have full control because the Ukrainians are on the other side, and especially they are on the high ground. So the Russians have firm control, slightly of a distance away from the river, but they basically have taken all of the river. The Ukrainians are not there. So this is the important thing to note about Horodivka. They have to cross the river, probably through this major road. There's a few bridges around here the Russians can actually cross over, and Krasnaya is near full capture. There's just a few more streets left. And based on the mapping, Krytia has now fallen to the Russians. This is already to the Russians. Ukrainian claim that the Russians have taken this high ground, one of the eyes, and have taken the nose. However, this area here they didn't claim that the Russians have taken. But based on Russian mapping, they have claimed that everything here is now under Russian control. So that's the main difference. And given the speed of the advance, there's actually no fighting. I would say not much fighting. South of their position is not much better. Russians have already entered into Selidove based on the Russian mapping. They have fully taken Marinevka, I think, without the fight as well. As I mentioned, this is undefendable. I don't think any fighting will happen there. And the Russians quickly moved into Selidove. And the information about Russian forces operating within Selidove deeper than this mapping is through word of mouth. There is some claims by villagers and civilians according to the Russian sources. So I'm not sure. No, I can't corroborate that information, but it seems to be the case. And based on the advancement, Mikhailivka also seems to be captured by the Russian forces according to the Russian mapping. So this is massive. Mikhailivka falling to the Russians so quickly. Not much of a fight around here, and then fighting going to Selidove, which is actually the alternate second boss, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a very big settlement. The Russians entering so quickly without any resistance is very disturbing. The fall of Selidove would mean that the compromise of this entire region of the Ukrainian positions will be compromised without Selidove. Once Selidove capture would means this entire area is under threat of encirclement, a lack of supply, lack of reinforcement, and logistically is just extremely difficult. So Selidove is extremely important. So the fall of Selidove, we might see the full collapse of this entire front line. So we have the first boss. Okay, we use a different color. First boss. These are the two first boss, and then the second boss. So this is 1, this is 2, and then this is the final boss. This is 3. And Russians already basically taken both of them. One is definitely down. This is almost fully down, and they have entered the other one. So things is looking super bad. Strategically in this area here is too fast. I can't even imagine. Not only August, coming to September, this is already happening. So let's continue to monitor. Who knows? We left a few more days left just 3 more days to September. Who knows? The Russians may even reach reach Menograd within these 3 days because of the lack of defending from the Ukrainian side. Over south of the Mikhailivka region, the Russian forces have also claimed, the Russian mapping have claimed that they are now pushing towards Ukrainsk. This is actually super fast. The Russian mapping have confirmed the Russian forces have they claim that Membrik has been captured. So they're corroborating the information. And over at the Kalinove region or the Kalivka region, based on Russian mapping, they have fully secured the land bridge. So the land bridge has fully fallen to the Russians. Clearly, by the look of it, there is no Ukrainian defense, and Kalivka is most likely going to be abandoned unless the Ukrainians going to stand and fight at this line. And I think they should. If you really want to fight on and not surrender, generally speaking, then this is a place you can fight in, because this is still defendable. But if they don't fight here, then yeah, just surrender, man. So that's it from this frontline changes in the Pokrov front. We move further south. There's frontline change over at the Voleda region. So over on the east of Voleda, Russian forces have advanced further over this vector of attack, and they have taken more grounds around here. Just soon, I think a distance of merely less than 1 kilometer, the Russian along this vector of attack will complete their mission to take this junction of this part of the highway, and this will further complicate the strategic and tactical situation of Voleda. It's unimaginable, that the Russians ever reach this highway line. Once upon a time, the front line is so far away. It's this far away, and then I can't even imagine the Russians reaching this place. Or actually to report about this happening. So yeah, that's life, man. Over in the southwest of Voleda, at the Pavlivka region, Russian forces have fully retaken all the grounds on the western part of Pavlivka. The Russian forces have retaken all of this position, and this would poise the Russian forces to one day go for a flanking operation coming on the western part of Voleda. So this is a possibility. The Russians have taken this very, very advantageous ground. And with this advance coming from the east of Voleda, they could just take Voleda in the envelopment. They don't have to storm the city. Basically, the city is already very, very destroyed. It's just rubbles. There is really not much of a city left. It's just it's one of the most heavily bombarded settlements in Ukraine, and the Russian forces pushing up from Shevchenko, moving up to along the river line. Yeah, this is very predictable. So that but it never happened until now. So very, very significant situation developing, and it looks really, really bad. The entire situation in Ukraine looks like the Ukrainians have lost its will to fight. So anyway, thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe. Look out for the sitrep, where we will go into details about all these things. We go into deeper analysis, and I'll see you guys in the next update.